Hello and welcome. I've got one more brewer design to show you, only I'm not really sure what to call this one. So rather than describe it, I'll just show you. So the way it works is you put a bunch of empty shulkers in here, and then you take your ingredients, you put them up in order, and we separate them by shovels. So here we're going to make a fire resistant splash potion followed by an invisibility long lasting potion. And the shovel just says, hey, this is where that recipe ends and this recipe starts. We close the chest and it starts feeding the ingredients through. And when it gets to the shovel, what will happen is it'll stop feeding the ingredients through. Holds onto the shovel, does the distribution as per previous videos. This one's a little different in that we're using a dropper distribution system, but mostly it's the same. We still have our water bottle distribution here from our filler, and our little, wait for wort when done clock. So this is our control brewer, and when it gets through all the ingredients, it'll let this go, which will do this falling edge observer and let the shovel out. And when the shovel comes out, it'll release that hopper and let the next ingredient set through, which will go right up until it gets another shovel, which will be read by this observer, this comparator as a stronger signal strength, which will then release the hopper underneath it and grab the next shovel, which we should see in a little bit. There's the next shovel. It's grabbed that, but we don't have a recipe after that. It's just grabbing the shovel. If we come over here, we can see the first shovel's already back, and we should have our first shulker box full of ingredients. So the only other thing worth noting is I'm using a observer dropper based distributor instead of a hopper based one like I did in my previous videos. No real particular reason other than I wanted to change things up. I think the hopper based one would still work. We do have a little bit more concern around having to do this falling edge observer here, so maybe it is needed. In any case, I'm going to tell you how it works. When we detect an item here, we release the clock, and the reason we're watching a hopper 2 bits off from this dropper is it's very important that that dropper never gets 2 items. If there's ever 2 items in that dropper, it might send them off in the wrong order. So we're detecting well before an item gets to the dropper. We've got an 8 signal strength clock here. That's just being fed into here so that if it's running, that'll turn on, which will hold the clock. Same as if this is on, as in there's no item here. But when it is running, this is just going to fade down to 0, and then once it's at 0, and that's 0, it'll release this, that'll send an 8 signal again, and it'll start over again. So it just repeats. Then it'll go from 8 to 0. On 8, it'll pulse this one and that one, and then as it drops from 8 to 7, this will pulse a second time, but that won't because it's been held off by this comparator repeater set, and so on and so forth. So that's the entire circuit. It runs at 4 ticks. It runs at 4 ticks simply because I need to, match the speed of the hoppers. And that's pretty much it. If you have a good idea of what we should call this, please let me know in the comments below. And thank you for watching.